All right, I think we're already at 1 o'clock. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the BCIT School of Business and Media Student Welcome webinar. Please note that this webinar is being recorded to share with other students that were unable to attend today's session. The webinar recording will be captured via Zoom and shared on BCIT Business and Media YouTube channels. As you enter, you'll notice that your cameras are off and your mics are muted. We do ask that you keep this way for the duration of the presentation. My name is Lester, and the Marketing Supervisor for the School of Business and Media, and your host for today's webinar series. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that the BCIT campuses are located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, which includes the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh Nation. So agenda for today, we have a jam-packed agenda for for us to help you become successful during your educational journey at BCIT. Please feel free to leave your questions in the chat, and we will consolidate all of your questions near the end of our session for our panelists to answer for you. And so make sure you stick around, all right? To start us off and formally welcome you to BCIT, here is our Dean, Kenton Lowe.
So hello, everyone. On behalf of the BCIT faculty and staff, I welcome you all to the School of Business and Media. I'm very excited for everyone to be here. You're now part of our growing community of global learners, aspiring leaders, and change makers. Now, I know for many of you, BCIT will serve as your second home, and I am incredibly grateful that you've decided to join the BCIT family for your personal and professional growth. We are committed to enriching the lives of our learners through applied business and media education. Our faculty have deep industry experience in their respective fields, and I am confident the time you spend with us will be rewarding. As your dean, my job is to work with our BCIT community, including all of you, to provide a positive learning experience and equip you with the tools and skills to thrive in this ever-changing world. Today, you will hear from your associate deans who will share some helpful tips to excel and succeed during your time at BCIT. We also have some guest speakers from the BCIT Student Life Office and the BCIT Library to provide you with available resources to support your mental, physical, and academic well-being and journey. Your BCIT Student Association is also here. They have fun and exciting opportunities for you to connect with like-minded students and develop your leadership skills through student clubs and activities. And lastly, here at BCIT, we believe that learning is not confined to the four walls of the classroom, but goes beyond that. Our global relations team will share study abroad opportunities with our partner schools worldwide to help you gain a global perspective in business. Finally, remember that we are all here to support your success. Feel free to ask questions, try new things, and don't be afraid to take risks because you are in the best place to learn and grow. On behalf of the BCIT staff and faculty, welcome. Even though we are meeting virtually today, I look forward to meeting you in person soon.
All right, thank you, Kenton. Thank you for your encouraging words. Those are really nice to hear from you. Next in line, we have our Associate Dean of Marketing and Management, Morgan Westcott, to share some success tips, teamwork, and student clubs available at BCIT.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for that introduction, Lester. My name is Morgan, and as mentioned, I'm the Associate Dean of the Marketing Management Department here at the School of Business and Media, and I am also a proud graduate of the Marketing Management program. And I'm here to share with you some of the tips of how to be a student at BCIT, which is just a little bit different than being a student everywhere else. So the first thing I wanted to talk about are the 3 keys to approaching your term. And I have to give full credit where credit is due. Everything that I'm about to share with you actually comes to us from successful graduates of our diploma programs. This is not stuff that I invented. This is in consulting with the people that did a really great job at being a successful student. And the first thing to think about are these 3 keys of mindset, prioritization, and tools. So let's start with your mindset. It's really hard to believe that in just a few short days, you're going to be joining us here on campus. You're going to be a student in the School of Business and Media. And one of the things that we think really sets those successful students apart are the students that come in with a goal in mind. Now, I have no idea what your goals are. I have a sneaking suspicion that you haven't taken the time to articulate these or write these down. There's something really powerful about writing a goal down. Maybe grab a Post-it note or a piece of paper and start to think about this as we go through the rest of the webinar. And you can go back to that goal and revise it as many times as possible. But you'll notice that the sample goals on the screen here are really specific and they're measurable, but also they're attainable. So for example, by June 2024, right, when I graduate from my diploma in a couple of years, I'll be starting a job that pays at least $70,000 per year. Now, that's a sample number. You might actually want to go out and look at job postings in your field and see what that number would make sense as an attainable goal for you. It could be around your average grade. It could be around the kind of industry that you're working in. But the best way to get in the right mindset for what you're about to do is to figure out, where do I actually want to end up when I'm finished my program? The other part of mindset is to prepare everyone else in your life for what's about to happen. You probably have lots of friends that are at university or college. They're taking 3, 4, 5 courses. You're about to take 7 or 8 courses at a time if you're one of our full-time students. And so that means that the rest of the people in your life need to really be prepared for what's about to happen. You know, your friends, your family, if you do have a part-time job, your employer, let them know, I'm about to undertake something pretty significant here. I'm going to be doing a lot of work and I just might not have the time for you that I used to, and maybe share those goals with them. This is where I'm going to end up if I really apply myself. The other thing is to start auditing your circle. So again, as you move through this phase of life, try and find other people that are looking for the same things that you are, that want to be successful in the ways that you want to be successful. Set up some rewards for hitting milestones between now and the end of your program and that goal, right? If you get that grade that you were aiming for on an exam, what does a reward look like? Maybe it's a new laptop case, or maybe it's buying a really deluxe coffee on your way to school. And learn how to take care of yourself. And you're going to hear more of that through the rest of our presentation today. The next piece is prioritizing your time and tasks. So one of the tools that our successful students use is this kind of grid system where they figure out what is very important and very urgent. Then they decide what's not important, but super urgent. Then they figure out what's very important, but not urgent. And then the fourth grid is it's not important and it's not urgent. If I get to it, great, but if not, no big deal. There's another way you can do this that's even simpler, and that's to traffic light your lists. So I'm actually sitting here with a bunch of lists myself as an associate dean, and I can go in with a red pen and say, this has to get done today. A yellow pen, this is best to be done today. Sometimes I don't even have time for the green pen. I just know that's nice if I can get to it. The next thing is to prioritize yourself. So you are going to be around other people that are busy working, and sometimes it makes sense to work with them on something and sometimes it doesn't. So as a general rule of thumb, if you can do a task by yourself, then get to work, find a spot without distractions, put in some headphones and get that studying or work done. But sometimes you can't do a task alone. So we're going to talk in a minute a little bit more about team management, but using tools like FaceTiming people in your group, getting together and making an agenda, and sticking to what you need to do as a group and not getting distracted is going to become increasingly important. So let's talk a little bit more about teamwork. There's something you might not know about the BCIT experience, that it's our emphasis on teamwork if you haven't already heard. So there's a joke that BCIT stands for being crammed into teams. And it doesn't really matter which program you're in or even which school at BCIT you're in, you are going to be doing a lot of group work because that's actually one of the #1 skills that industry is looking for. And it's really beneficial in other areas of your life as well. One of the tools that you can use to really maximize your efficiency as a team is something called a team charter. Now, don't worry, your instructors are going to get together with you and teach you how to do this in detail, but just be prepared that anytime you're doing an assignment as a group, you're going to want to have a written guideline that you all sign off on on what you're going to be doing together. Things around your goals, but also around what are the consequences if someone in the group isn't pulling their weight? And what are the consequences if someone in the group is pulling too much weight? You don't just want one person in the team to be making all the decisions. That all lives inside your team charter. The next is to meet with intention. You are going to have a jam-packed schedule. So if you are going to have a meeting, you should set a time and you should have an agenda for what's going to happen. And you actually should appoint someone in your group to chair the meeting. That's the person who looks at the agenda and goes, uh-oh, you know, we've spent too much time talking about our weekend and we are way off track, or we're going to have to move off of that discussion item. Take notes of what's happened in the meeting and then apply the same to your meetings with faculty. If you're going to wander into an instructor's office, right, have a game plan for what you want to address with them. Take notes and follow up with them so that you're really clear on what happened in that meeting. So a few more tools that can help you be really organized. First, as one student said, G Suite for everything. So a lot of our students like to use Google Suite because it pulls everything together for them and they can actually share this with other members of their set or their cohort. That's one approach. There's the famous quote that came directly from a student. Google Suite for everything. Not everyone uses Google Suites. This is an actual screenshot of one of our students, our top students. This is the home screen of her laptop. Ooh, her battery level is at stressful levels of 7%. She must have been working really hard. But if you look over at the other side, you can see she has a weekly to-do list and it's actually linked to her folders. So she knows exactly what she needs to tackle for the week. And you'll see it's a lot. And she has folders that correspond to all of those courses and tasks. Next up is communication with each other in terms of your peers in your class and with your instructors. You want to communicate about an issue as early as possible and as often as you need to, but you have to give your instructor enough detail for decisions. It has to be professional. So when we say professional, we mean seriously, no emojis. And it has to be solution oriented. So let the instructor know up front what you're looking for. Is it an extension? Is it office hours? Do you need to meet over a specific concept that you don't understand? Be as clear and as focused as possible from the very beginning of term. So that all sounded extremely serious, and we do take business and media quite seriously here in our school, but there's also opportunities for a lot of fun, and I can't recommend enough joining one of our many, many student clubs. So I am not going to get into any detail about these clubs, but just to send you the message, there is truly a club for everyone. So whether you're wanting to join the accounting association or something like the marketing association, the sales club, the Bitman group, there really is a club for everything. And the best place to find out about clubs is Clubs Day. So Clubs Day is coming up next week on Thursday, September 8th in the Great Hall, which when you come to campus, you'll see is a really big meeting space from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So whenever you have a break in classes between 11 and 3, go to the Great Hall, take a walk around and learn more about the student clubs available here. So that's it for me. I just wanted you to remember to set your mindset and share that with others, prioritize your tasks, create those tools and frameworks ahead of time, as early in term as possible. Get that help from your instructors and others when you need it by being a very clear communicator, and join clubs and get involved to bring some fun to your experience. And pass it back to Lester, I think.
Thanks, Morgan. Yeah, I highly recommend that everyone should join a club because when I was a student at BCIT as well, clubs really enrich my experience here at school. Thanks, Morgan, for all of that. It's a jam-packed information, but it's very helpful, especially for everyone. So another way to stay connected and get updates on what's happening around the school is to get involved with the various BCIT School of Business and Media initiatives. And for me, as a marketing supervisor for School of Business and Media, we try to communicate as many information as we want that are important to our students, to you guys, that are important to you, any events, activities, we share them on our social media. So first, please connect with us on our social media pages, the Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. so you'll know some of our upcoming events at BCIT. We also have some interview sessions with some of our BCIT students and alumni, asking them about their success stories and sharing some tips with you about their careers and about their industry. So there are certain features about marketing or accounting and finance, operation, and broadcast. We interview some of our alumni and through this social media. So whip up your phones. You could scan your QR codes now, and I'll give you some time over. If you're interested with more fun, engaging content, Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't set up your LinkedIn yet, don't worry, BCIT will set it up for you. But if you do have it, you could also follow us at BCIT Business and Media. Another way to connect with us is through the volunteer content creator. So BCIT School of Business and Media is looking for enthusiastic volunteer content creators for this coming fall. So the benefits of applying for this one and becoming part of the volunteer content creator team will be developing and boost your social skills in social media marketing and become involved with your campus community. And then we also provide some networking events and social events available throughout the year. And at the same time, we will also be providing some hands-on experience to build your portfolio and resume as you graduate to school. Some of the few activities that you'll be doing as a social media content creator will be creating social media content based on your interests, passions, and basically your life at BCIT. And then you'll also be collaborating with us, with my team, on School of Business and Media Marketing team. And you're also, if you're able to commit 10 hours a month, usually it's just brainstorming and meeting once every 2 weeks to discuss like some things that are cool that's happening on your program. We would love to hear it and create some content around it. If you're interested in this opportunity, please message Jessie Wang at Jessie_Wang at bcit.ca, who's our social media specialist. And lastly, we are having a contest. So follow us on BCIT School of Business and Media on Instagram, and then you could like the post coming up soon. And then if you could tag your friends on that, on the comments for that post, that will be very, very helpful. And we will be providing some swags to all the students as you start your school. All right, give you some few minutes to tag people or even just follow us on that Instagram post, and we should be good. For the next part, we've invited some friends from Student Life Office and share some helpful resources available to you. So please welcome Jacqueline Nadarski.
Thank you,
Jacqueline.
Lester. Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, my name is Jacqueline Nadrasky. I come to you from the Student Life Office at BCIT. My other two colleagues are Kathy Mutis and Nicole Green. We are located in the SW1 at the main campus in Burnaby, but we are very low barrier. You can access us and connect with us through email or phone. Our email is there. It's the best way to reach us. A little bit about who we are and what we do. And so the Student Life Office case managers, if you think about a bicycle wheel, we're the hub in the middle. And all of the student supports and services are the spokes on the wheel. So we really work to connect students to the appropriate supports and services for their individual needs. And so that is kind of a little bit of a visual of exactly what we are and what we do. We ask students to reach out as early as possible for any personal situation or academic situation that you might be having challenges with. And you can give us an email at Early Assist or submit what we call an Early Assist form. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. These are some of the students' services that are offered at BCIT. We've got accessibility services that is available for students who may have diagnosed a medical condition or psychological condition that may prevent you from being successful at BCIT. You could register with accessibility services and create an independent learning plan. If you want to know more about accessibility services, they have a website and an FAQ that really helps to clarify exactly what their department does. We've got the Counseling and Student Development Department. If you would like to connect with a counselor, again, they're very low barrier. They're doing virtual and in-person appointments right now, which is great. We've got our recreation services, so visit our gym if you have not yet. It's a great place to create friendship and stay healthy and take a break from studies. We've got a clinic on campus, the Student Health Services, which is fully staffed with doctors, psychiatrists, and nurses. Again, they're offering appointments virtually and in person as well. So if you're able to, if you need, prescriptions filled or want to connect with a doctor or don't have a family doctor here in Vancouver or Burnaby, feel free to reach out to the Student Health Services. We've got our student association, and within the student association, we have an advocate who is there to support students with anything around navigating policies at BCIT. Financial aid and awards is available for students for any financial questions that you may have. I will mention that BCIT does have a student emergency fund for situations that may happen. An example may be if for a student who had a flood and laptop was damaged, we were able to help that student through the student emergency fund get back on track and get that laptop replaced. The Indigenous Initiatives and Strategy team are also there to support any students who identify as Indigenous, who want to connect to cultural supports and resources, or a student advisor. International Student Center, if there's any students who may have questions around study permits or visas, there are advisors within the International Student Center. I'll say for the Indigenous Initiatives, International Student Center, and the Student Association, those are all places that actually have have a lot of supports within those areas as well. So I would encourage students to reach out to those supports and services. So how to connect with our team. So those are just some of the supports and resources that are offered at BCIT. But again, if you have any questions or you feel that you want to connect to a counselor and I don't know where to start, you can reach out to us at bcit.ca/early assist. And you can submit what we call an early assist form. It's a referral form that would connect you to one of the case managers on our team. I will say for the early assist program, it's very confidential. It's not it's not connected to your student record. You cannot get in trouble through early assist. It is strictly a referral process that would help to identify what you need to be supported with, and then we would work to connect you to the appropriate supports and services. So we look forward to connecting with some of the students this year, and just know that we really, as robust and vigorous as the programs are, so are the supports and services at BCIT. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Appreciate the information. I'm sure the students appreciate it as well. Early in the session, you may have learned about various clubs at BCIT that Morgan have provided, and you may have piqued some interest on them. Well, Joshua Liu from BCIT Student Association and also the chair of School of Business and Media will be providing you with some background of their office and what they can do for you. Take it away, Joshua.
Thanks, Lester. Nice to meet you all. I am Josh. I am the chair of the School of Business and Media. I am your representative from the Student Association. We are the student union here at BCIT, and we're here to support you through student services, advocacy, and enhancing student life. So what do we do? Lester, next slide, please. Thank you. We have a variety of services. To highlight a few, we have a health and dental service, as Jacqueline mentioned, where we have the we have the dentist office right here on the campus at BCIT on the SC2 building. We also have a free student development program such as Peak Leadership and Entrepreneurship Edge, where you can apply and have a free host of programs to help you develop these different skills such as leadership and entrepreneurship. And also we have wellness services such as our Zen Lounge, where we offer free massages. You can sign up for that and take that away. More services to include, well, if you want to print anything, we have, thank you. If you want to print anything, we have our print shop at SC2. And if you want advocacy services, we also have those, which is a separate team in the SA that you can reach out to if you need any support with advocacy, any problems or issues you may have with instructors, and so on, that you want to discuss anonymously. We are here to support you with that. Lastly, if you want to, If you want to find out more, you can head to bcitsa.ca. If you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me through Zoom here on the messages, or you can email me at chairbusiness@bcitsa.ca. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. At least like there's some familiar faces as they start their educational journey at BCIT. Joshua is also a student at BCIT, so feel free to reach out to him. All right. So next we have our Associate Dean of Operations and Operations Management to give you an overview of the Learning Hub. What is Learning Hub, Phil? Please take it away.
Thank you, Lester. All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to BCIT. I'm Phil Raymer. And Learning Hub, that is where you're going to access all of your material for your courses. So your instructors will be setting up your course material, lessons, all that kind of stuff, probably quizzes, some exams in the Learning Hub. So I'm actually not going to show you the Learning Hub screens. What I'm going to do is point you to some various areas. But first off, I want to just make you aware that AV Services, this link here is something you want to explore this week. AV Services does have equipment for loan. They have tech support and troubleshooting if you need that on the audiovisual equipment. Next slide, please, Lester. And this link here is going to take you to the resources that are going to help you with the Learning Hub. So I highly recommend that you go through these resources at this link. And actually, if we go to, we're going to look at the first one, Term Start on that left. If you go to this link and then click on the Term Start link, you'll get the next slide, Lester. So here's a bunch of resources. It'll show you all about logging into the Learning Hub, give you a complete overview. It'll actually walk you through the Learning Hub various modules so you know how to access those. And you can see looking down the list, there's all kinds of direction it's going to give you, from taking a quiz to understanding your grades and so forth. So this is it's going to be a lot easier if you just take an hour, walk through this stuff. It'll just prepare you for your classes when you begin next week. And then you won't be asking a bunch of questions of your instructor. So when you go to that Term Start link, you're going to see this page. And there's videos throughout the lessons here. You can watch those videos and get set up on Learning Hub. If you could go to the next slide, please, Lester. Also, there's these other resources. You'll see that blue menu list that was on the left. We'll list these other ones as well. The virtual classroom, Bongo. There may be times when your instructor is going to deliver a lesson online. We've had a few cases where instructors, I've got one instructor that may not make it back next week because of contracting COVID. So we may end up starting online a few classes. So you need to be prepared and understand how that's going to work. So go through that Bongo lesson, learn how to join a meeting online. It'll walk you through all those settings so that you're prepared to start. Next slide, please. And this here is, that link is to the actual Learning Hub tour. You want to self-register for that Learning Hub course. So if you go to that first link, that's the course number, but you can self-register at that bottom link and just walk through that course. It'll give you a guided tour. It'll just push you all the way through so you understand where each thing is in the Learning Hub. And I think that's it for me. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. I'm sure like a lot of the students will be using the Learning Hub starting this point. And as they explore it, take your time. Use those resources, available resources online to learn about the program. Next, we'll have our like some library resources. We have Jeff, our friend Jeff Verbeam from the library office. To share some of the resources available at the library. Take it away, Jeff. Sorry, Jeff, I think you're muted. Have your audio on?
Hello?
There we go. Good.
Wasn't plugged in. So hi everyone, sorry about that. My name is Jeffrey Beam and I'm the liaison librarian for some of the business programs, including finance, accounting, business administration, HR, and I work alongside Deirdre Grace, who is the a librarian for marketing, operations management, and a couple other things. The library is in SE 14. If you are on campus, that would be the place to go, or we're kind of right across from the rec center. We are looking at getting a space opened up in the Tech Collider if your classes are downtown. So fingers crossed for that spot opening up for us a little bit in the fall. It's not open yet, but hopefully soon. I want to point out some of the important services and resources that will support your success at BCIT. So you see online here, we've got the best bet, the research guides. What I'd encourage most of you to do when you have a chance is to dig into the research guide list from the library website and find out what your research guide is. That is your one-stop shop for all the library resources that you're going to need, and also web resources and so on for success in your course. What we try to do is curate the list of resources that you will encounter most likely in your program, okay, and especially in the industry. So these are industry standard databases, and we have a pretty healthy budget. Capital IQ and Vividata, for example, in marketing, these are words that don't mean anything to you yet, but if you went online looking for them and came across a report in a Google search, you'd be paying tens or even thousands of dollars for these reports. So they're very valuable industry standard reports. So check out those research guides. Can I go to the next slide, please? Yeah. For more on the academic side for your support, we do have some peer tutoring. So every year, the Learning Commons hires the best and the brightest students who are just finishing their first year of their program to come back and do peer tutoring for their second year. All right. So if you need help applying some of this information from your classes, or you are having trouble with study skills, you'll sit down with a peer tutor. I'm told the quote I was given today is that the peer tutoring is going to be largely but hesitantly online. So, on campus, face-to-face. So we're doing blended, but I think it's going to be mostly face-to-face now. So go to the Learning Commons site to find out what their schedule is. We also have writing tutoring, which is some of that is face-to-face as well. But the right-of-way is online. So on that format, you would submit your report and you get written feedback, and they give you very specific feedback about where your business plan is or your proposal or whatever you're working on. And they also give you some of the tools so that you can fix your writing yourself. So the goal is to make you a better writer. All right. And Douglas Buchanan is the coordinator, and he's going to be also hosting some learning skills seminars in the fall. So everything more or less starts on September 21st, but again, check out their website for the specific schedule. Next, please. Yeah, in the library as a space, I really think like part of that mindset that we heard about earlier from Morgan is really just making it a habit to be in a space where you are most productive. So whether you know you need a dull roar in the background to be more productive, or you like really quiet spaces, we have a little bit of both, all right? And we also have a number of computer labs to keep you productive. The APOD, which is in the basement, will be accessible in September 24/7. So your student card is actually your card to get you into that space at any time. And we've got some fun stuff too, like games and puzzles. There's usually a big jigsaw puzzle going on the main floor. And we now have an augmented reality and virtual reality space as well. So something for everyone in the library at this stage. But if you need help with any of that, and you can get in touch with us, there are a number of ways. So Ask Away is our online chat service. We have eBrarian, which is our email. But if you would like to sit down with either Deirdre or myself and have a more in-depth consultation, please be in touch either by these emails or through our research guide. You can book a consultation. All right. And Robin, I'm sorry I forgot to talk about the citation part, but I will say most of our resources have APA citation tools built in, but we do have a research guide for the APA citation, which Robin is going to get into. So, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate, the library was very helpful for me to study and get all the available resources I need as a student at BCIT. So thank you, Jeff. For everyone, just to let you know, put your questions on your Q&A section. Morgan has volunteered to answer your questions as much as we can, and then we'll provide a summary at the end of this session for the Q&A. All right. And next we'll have our Associate Dean for Accounting, Finance, and Insurance is here to inform you about some of the importance of academic integrity here at BCIT. So please welcome Robin Day.
All right, thank you, Lester. I think I managed to unmute myself and we're good to go. As Lester mentioned, I'm Robin Day, the Associate Dean for Accounting, Finance, and Insurance. And who better to talk about academic integrity than a bean counter? So yeah, academic integrity, what are we talking about there? Well, we're talking about things like plagiarism, cheating, whether it's intentional or unintentional, or attempting to cheat, helping others to cheat. Essentially, what we're talking about is doing your own work. And if you are relying on the work of others, giving them appropriate credit. Now, a lot of people say, well, why does all that matter? Why do I care about academic integrity? Well, look at the quote from Warren Buffett. And if you don't know who Warren Buffett is, crawl out from under your rock and Google him, because he's a very important business leader in North America, in the world. And like he says, if you don't have the first two, if you don't have the last one, there goes the perfect presentation. Don't bother with the first two. Nobody cares about how smart you are, how much energy you have, if you lack integrity. So when it comes to integrity at British Columbia Institute of Technology, why do we care? Well, we care because it adds value to your credential and to the credential of everyone else who takes the same program or any program at BCIT. Therefore, we embed academic integrity in policy. So there's a couple of critical policies that you should have a look at. 5104 talks about the Student Code of Academic Integrity, and the Student Code of Conduct, which is non-academic. That's all the stuff that relates to the things you do outside of the classroom. Now, I do want to say, just when it comes to academic integrity, a lot of people say, well, I'll worry about being honest and building a network later. I'll worry about that when I start my career. And I'm very fond of the expression, your career started the day that you signed up for your program at BCIT. And I have some very personal experience with that. My oldest daughter is a BCIT alum, and she still relies on the network that she formed when she was a student here 15 years later in her personal and professional life. Many of our students come back to their faculty and ask for references when it comes to going out into the job market and looking for that perfect career opportunity. Well, guess what? If you're known as someone who cheated their way through the program or attempted to, you won't be getting a reference from this kid, and you probably won't be getting a reference from any of the other faculty that work with you either. So it's really, really critical. So let's move to the next slide, which talks about what might happen if you do get caught cheating, or if you're not caught cheating. Let's say you manage to cheat your way through a course or a program. What happens when your boss in the workplace asks you to perform that task that you cheated on in your course? What happens when you call a classmate for help? Will they actually help you? Will they give you any respect? Or will they say, well, that guy's a cheater, I'm not going to give him the time of day? So if you're caught cheating in a course, the penalties, the sanctions escalate anywhere from a warning right up to potential expulsion from BCIT. Long story short, you really don't want to go there. Now, there is a specific process. If you are caught, you'll probably receive either a written or verbal notification from your instructor telling you what they think you did and what the consequences could be. You are able to go to the student advocate, the student association, and ask for some support and help in dealing with that situation. And long story short, we want to try to be fair, but we also want to ensure that integrity in our programs is maintained at the highest level, and employers can rely on our graduates for integrity, knowledge, and most important, enthusiasm. Welcome, and I hope your time at BCIT is as rewarding as my 20 years here have been. Back to you, Lester.
Thank you so much, Robin. I know that BCIT is very heavy on like academic integrity, and it's really true what you said in the industry that, you know, integrity is, you need to build it up for so long, and then it can be destroyed by one day. Thank you. All right, so next we have exciting opportunities for all of you first years coming into BCIT. I would like to introduce Mark Nakamura, our global relations, one of our faculty from global relations, to share about some global learnings and opportunities. Take it away, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much, Lester. Global Relations is a department that focuses on international and intercultural learning opportunities. As a student in the School of Business and Media, you have the opportunity to participate in short, medium, and long-term study abroad programs. Can I get the next slide? So starting with the shortest, our summer field school programs in Japan and Italy are open to anyone who is 19 or older and can use the credit towards our Global Business Studies Associate Certificate program, as well as our degree and other programs as well. The medium-term study abroad program is semester exchange. It's open to business administration diploma, global studies option, BBA degree, or Bachelor of Accounting degree programs at one of our 20 partner institutions across 15 countries. Our double degree programs, which are the longest programs, provide the opportunity for business degree students to earn a bachelor's from BCIT and a partner institution by studying 1 year abroad. And all these programs do have scholarships and grants available to them. Next slide, please. And so Global Relations also offers different programs to improve your intercultural understanding, expand your network, and gain volunteer work experience, which is actually a very valuable part of an application when you apply for scholarships or grants. And so we manage all these different activities. So it's a great way to meet others across BCIT, outside of BCIT, exchange students. And this, you know, while you're a student, I think is a really exciting time to go and study abroad, learn about yourself, learn about a different culture, and learn in a different environment. So these are all really important skills that will really push you and will be really exciting part of your resume when you start looking for your career later on. And then in Global Relations, we also provide advising for all students. So if you have any questions about our programs or about how to get more experience abroad, then please come to visit us. And next slide, please. So this is our contact information. We're in SE 6210. So please come visit us or just check out our website or send us an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. That was quick and nice. That was awesome. So now I want to call back our Associate Dean for Operations Management, Phil Raymer, to tell us about BYOD. I'm clarifying BYOD, all right? What's BYOD, Phil?
All right, Lester, thank you. All right, so Phil here again, and bring your own device is BYOD. And I think we've made it clear that students are to bring their own devices to BCIT to do their work. And I'm not talking about bring your cell phone and not a computer. I want you to bring a computer because you're going to need that. I'm going to talk about the topology here of our infrastructure. So at BCIT, we have Wi-Fi throughout everywhere. You're going to connect to it. You're going to use your login credentials, same login credentials that you're given to access all your courses and so forth. It's the same for Wi-Fi, and it's everywhere except the parking lot, perhaps. But all the buildings, you'll have plenty of access. It's high speed. I haven't been disappointed. It's been quite good. IT upgraded a few years ago, and it's been really great. But you know that all of the Learning Hub, other software applications, it's all going to be accessed through BCIT's infrastructure. Let's go to the next slide, please. I'm just going to shoot through the BYOD specs. So there's the link for it above. And when you access these slides after the webinar, you can click and go have a look here. So if you're not clear on your device and whether it meets the requirements, you can go to these pages, this page here, the spec, and have a look. And I should emphasize, this is really applying to the 4 business departments, not the media portion or broadcast and digital arts. So if we could go to the next slide, please. These are just screen captures from the spec itself, but generally we're looking for a Windows computer. We know that about 35% of you are going to have Macs. That's been the typical. And I believe there was a question in the chat about whether a Mac is sufficient for an HR program. I like to think of it this way, is if you're in a general business program, so if you're an op man, you're in business admin or HR or accounting and finance and risk management, you really want to have a Windows machine. It's really clear that in the marketing world, the Mac is the device of choice. So we have this challenge with our programs. My department is delivering the BSIS program. So you'll take BSIS 1000, which is going to get you up to speed in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, for example. You really need to use the Windows version. Now, if you got a Mac, I'm not saying go out and buy a Windows machine. So we have a workaround for that, and we're going to get into that later with Mike McPhee at 2 o'clock-ish. But you folks can use Workspace. So you'll be able to run the Windows-based version on your Mac. There's other options that Mike will talk about there as well. So I really want to encourage you to attend that next section, particularly if you're a Mac user. You're going to get a lot of good information about how to deal with the environment using a Mac. So you've probably studied those specs a bit. There's some notes here about that. So Windows, of course, is strongly recommended. You can see we've underlined that one, but there are some workarounds. There's links to other information there. And other software. Other thing I want to note is that Microsoft Office 365, you can download it, install it locally on your machines. That's free of charge. We provide that to you, so you'll be able to get that from our web pages here. Next slide. Printer scanner. You may not want that at home. Encouraged if you're going to do some online work and you're going to need to scan things. You want a scanner that does multi-page scanning, that kind of thing, and can dump it into a PDF file. That it's much easier to deal with and upload if you have that. Headset and microphone, because you probably will encounter a few online sessions. You're going to want to make sure you have a good quality headset with the microphone, because the people on the other end are the ones that are going to benefit from that the most, so they can hear you clearly. And then optional items. It's really tough to do all of your work on a single computer device. You definitely want to have a second screen. You know, monitors aren't too expensive. You can get a decent monitor for 130 bucks, that kind of thing. And if you are doing ebooks for your textbooks, I would recommend you get a tablet and use a tablet to view those if you can afford it. I know everybody has a budget. And any questions on BYOD in the chat, or save them up for later? We can field that with Mike in a little bit. And the last slide there, connecting to BCIT systems, about my BCIT. So you want to make sure you access that through email, and that's your primary communication with the Institute. Highly recommend you do email forwarding to your personal email account. I did that since day one, since I joined BCIT, and it just makes it a lot cleaner. you get your emails right away to your personal account, and it's you can respond to it as well. Student schedules. This one's really important. All of your class schedules will be accessed at that link there. And make sure you select the fall 2022. You may see summer in there today if you were to go there today. They're currently in draft, but they will be finalized on the 1st, which is on Thursday. And you can access your instructor schedules as well. So if you're looking for a time to meet with your instructor, you can do that. Same for your program head. If you need to talk to your program head, you can access their schedule. They should be putting their availability in that schedule. And IT services, we're going to have more of this in a bit, but if you need tech help, you can access it at that link at the bottom.
All right, Phil, I think we're all set. I think that's all we have for now, right? Thank you.
That's it.
That's it. But now we're going to our Q&A session. Maybe I'll just read off some of the questions, Morgan, and anyone can jump in into answering them.
It might work better if I do that, just
Okay.
because I've been behind the scenes and I know which questions are in the process of being answered.
Perfect.
While we're waiting for your additional questions, I'd just like to invite my fellow panelists, if you're skimming some of the questions and you see something that hasn't been answered. I see Mike is currently answering Ethan's question around CPU. You definitely don't want me to answer that question. And so I'm just going to skim through some of the questions that I've already answered and give you kind of some highlights. We had a couple of questions around course outlines. So I did provide the link, which you could find yourself just by Googling BCIT course outlines. That link is going to take you to an outlines page. Now, someone else who was very clever said, I went there. There's no outline for my specific instructor. Some of your instructors are still refining your schedule and putting the finishing touches on your course. So if it's not there, just give it a couple of days and your course outline should appear. If you're really curious about what you're going to be learning in a course, you can actually use that outlines website to look back at past terms. You could look at fall term. You could look at another instructor's outline to just give you a general sense of what you're going to be learning in that class. Another question we get a lot is about textbooks. So I don't want to speak for every course and every instructor, but for a lot of students, the majority of students, our expectation is that you come to school next Tuesday for your orientation, and then you will have time during the day next Tuesday to go to the bookstore or to go to the bookstore online or to double check on resources. Your program heads for your program area will give you more specific information around those expectations. Nobody expects you to bring textbooks to your orientation. So I always recommend that students err on the side of caution. It's better to make contact with your instructor first, or to make sure that you really have that up-to-date course outline before making a purchase. Some people wanted to know how they can access this information to share with family and friends. Lester is going to be taking this information over the next couple of days and getting it up on our YouTube channel. And then Lester, you'll maybe email that out to everyone in the school so they have access to that. I see.
Yep, definitely. I'll upload it on YouTube and send it out to all the participants and all the students.
Perfect. Excellent. A couple of questions about your student IDs that Jeff was kind enough to answer written in the chat, but you can see there are links there. So bcit.ca/card. That will take you to the information about your student card. And it is recommended that that is something that you could be doing right now ahead of term, getting organized around your card, uploading a photo to the website, and then finding time to come to campus to pick it up. I'm just going to look at our open questions. I noticed that someone said that they wanted to know how to make good and lasting relationships with their professors. And I thought, there's no way I can answer this in just a little paragraph to one person. It's such a great question. I think you want to be working on making good and lasting relationships with your instructors, but also with your peers. The people in your cohort, in your set that you're taking all your classes with, they're the start of your professional network. So I think what you want to do is treat your professors and your student colleagues while you're at BCIT as your coworkers. So if you would communicate with your boss using emojis and hearts and winky eyes and saying, hey, bud, what's up? I can't make it to class, then you're probably not going to be super successful in business, right? That's kind of the lens that everyone uses here in the School of Business and Media, because for both industries, there's a certain level of professionalism. So the best way to make a good and lasting relationship, I'll give you a couple of tips. One is really think through your question. Do you need the instructor to answer this question for you, or is it something that you could ask a friend in class or find on the internet? Is it in that course outline? Are there other resources that can answer your question first? Then if you reach out to your instructor, again, it's about being professional, courteous, respectful of their time. Ask them exactly what you want to know, and provide them with as much detail as possible so that they can let you know. So when I was teaching in the department, I taught hundreds of students at the same time, and I would get an email saying, hey, it's Lester from your marketing class. When is the assignment due? Don't do that. Hi, it's Lester. I'm in your Tuesday morning marketing class. I'm a marketing student. This is the assignment I'm referring to. I noticed in the course outline, it says it's due on Thursday, but in lecture, you said it was due on Friday. Could you please let me know, and I will update the rest of the students in my set accordingly. That's how you communicate with an instructor. I think that's it for the highlights. We have a lot of really specific questions here in the chat. I know we're going to be transitioning to the next phase of our programming. And so as we continue to have questions in the Q&A, the AD team, we're going to be in the background answering some of these questions just by typing out the answer until our fingers are sore and you're all done asking us questions. But I'll turn it back over to Lester, because a lot of these questions about, is a Surface Pro, what's the CPU, how do I connect to the Wi-Fi, what does it mean if I need to XYZ, are questions that Phil and Mike McPhee can help get you answered as they navigate you towards having the right device for your learning environment. So I'll turn it back over to Lester, and then he can hand it back over to them.
Thanks, Morgan. I know there's a load of questions that were answered, and thank you for helping out, and also Phil and Robin for answering, and Mike as well for answering some of the technical questions from the students. So we'll take a short break, I think, for everybody to just get settled. Stay in the call, but at the same time, and then later, Phil, some of your ADs and Mike McPhee will help you with the technical issues or some of your technical questions about your devices. But before we go for a break, I just want to remind everyone that we have the contest happening, that you should follow us on social media. So just scan our QR code on your screen, use your phone, and then like the post, and then basically tag 2 friends in the comments. It doesn't have to be BCIT friends, as long as they are friends in your network on your Instagram. Just tag them on a comment, and we'll see you soon, and we'll let you know. So the giveaway will end on September 9th. So that's like next week, and then we'll announce the winners on September 12th. All right, thank you, everyone. We'll be on a short break. Yeah, and then maybe we'll be back around 2:05. Thank you. All right, and now we're back. I think we still have 70 students in the chat or in our attendees. Generally, we have, hope you have a good break. So now we have Phil and Mike to discuss further some of the BYOD and computer help that you may have. Please feel free to put in the chat for any questions, but then I'll take it away, Mike.
Perfect. Thanks, Lester. I checked and I've got control of the slides, so I'm in good shape. Thank you all for coming. Now I can't. Where is it? There you go. We got it. Technically capable. Welcome. My name is Mike McPhee. I'm from IT Services. I was a student here at BCIT. I have a diploma and a BTech degree through computing. I am qualified to guide you through starting up at BCIT and surviving BCIT. I'd like to start by saying congratulations on choosing BCIT. It's a great foundation for the start of your career. By no means do you learn everything, but it's a very good start, and employers will pay for the skills that you learn here in the programs that you are about to start. I'd also like to say that you don't have to have any notes. Lester has a copy of this presentation that he'll share with you, along with a walkthrough step-by-step guide to complete some of the important things that we're going to walk through today. Some of the things we're going to go through are: where do you find resources? What's the best way to get help as a student? Been a number of questions about your BCIT ID. I don't think there've been a few about email. Just getting around in those systems, making sure you have the software you need and you are ready to go. Phil, you had a great line earlier in the presentation that this presentation, if you went to those video links and got prepared, you are preparing so you are ready to start. Once you start your program, Morgan, you indicated that they're going to be taking 7 or 8 courses. That is the BCIT way. It's condensed, it's aggressive. You're going to be very busy. You want to prepare so that you are ready to go, not getting ready to go as things start coming at you. BCIT moves pretty fast. I'll also walk you through using the resources at BCIT, whether you're using the computers in the lab, your BYOD devices, or you're connected to VPN, proper etiquette for using those things. And touch on some key things that I think you should do today, if not the very first week at BCIT. Get that going. So the first place to look for help is the knowledge base. The knowledge base are documented solutions for things that we've seen before. It's very unlikely that your problem is the first time we've seen it. So someone's probably encountered it before and written it down, and the answer's already there. You just have to go look. So if you were going to go to the knowledge base and say, look for how to connect to Wi-Fi, an article like that is there. And then you can solve your own problems. The second place to look is each other. BCIT is very much a cohort system. You are divided into sets. Those sets travel through all their classes together. There is your set, and then there are other sets. So if you find the answer with to a question you're looking for, there are probably 5 to 10 other people in your set looking for that answer. Find a way to communicate with them and share that information with other sets so that you can become a wolf pack that gets through the program together. There's lots of people. Don't suffer in silence. If you're having a problem finding something, a bunch of people in your class probably are too. Find it and share that answer and solve the problem together. If that doesn't work, you can contact IT services. There are a number of ways to do that. Email, chat, phone, come visit us. One of the biggest things I would like to say is if something's not working, a couple of machines broken in the lab, you can't connect to something, report it right away. If I had $1 for every time someone said they were very frustrated because it hasn't worked for 8 weeks, well, nobody told me in week 1, otherwise I would have fixed it. So please report it and we'll get on it right away if it's not working. Any new asks that are software related or lab related, there's a fine line between whether it goes to IT, if it's break fix, or if it's something new, that ask should probably go through your department. Give you an example. Years ago, a student might say, I want my whole class to have access to Photoshop. Well, a few years ago, that had a financial impact, and that decision will get made by your school, whether or not that's a tool you need for your program. I'm just going to do what your program tells me. So if you're asking for something new, it should go to your department. If it's break fix, it should go to IT. One of the biggest tips I can give you, and all of these things you should do today tips are flagged with that asterisk, like this title slide has. Label your items, put your name on your stuff. As Morgan has hinted at, you're going to have a lot of courses. You're going to be very busy. You're going to have busy brain for the next 2 years. There will be times when it peaks and you just leave stuff behind. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but I did find a USB stick in a computer laptop in the lab that had some keys to a very nice BMW in it. You don't think you're going to do it, but if you label your items, have a README file in your USB key, put a background on your iPhone or cell phone so it knows where to come back to. These will all help you in getting your stuff back. Also learning where the locations are of all the lost and found. There's a number of them around the Burnaby campus. So know where those are. That's part of your orientation, I guess, to know where those are. And just, you're not planning on doing it, but you're helping yourself out and minimizing your risk if you put your name on all your stuff. So it could just be a sticker for your power adapter, the name and phone number. If that makes its way to the lost and found, they'll call you and you're very likely to get it back. So please, that's something I think you should do today. It's very important. BCIT credentials, we were talking about a student ID or your BCIT card. That is a physical card for your student number. As a registered student, all of you should have a student number. And you can use that student number to find out your BCIT ID that you'll sign into all the systems with, which is your email. So if you go to the bottom of the page there, that yellow link, id.bcit.ca, sign in with your BCIT ID number, which you should all have, and your password. It will tell you what your email address is. I'm not sure that's given to you in any of the communications. So that's how you look up your BCIT email, and that's your ID for logging into systems. Password we'll get to, it's coming up in a couple slides. Some of the other information that's very critical for students to have can be found on our student-facing portal at my.bcit.ca. It's got information functions for everybody, faculty, staff, students. That's where you get your student email, check your grades, change your password, get your transit pass information. All kinds of stuff is there for you at mybcit.ca. Chiefly among them is changing your password. So one of the things that I would like you to do today is go to that site and change your password. By default, your password is year, month, day. So if you were born April 1st, 2000, your password is 000401. That's not terribly secure. That's not hard information to find out about any individuals. So that is something you should do today, is go in there and change your password to something that you will remember. Your MyBCIT email is BCIT's primary way to communicate with you. They're not going to send email to your Gmail or your TELUS or your whatever. That's how we're going to communicate with you. You want to make sure you're getting the communications from BCIT. There is a knowledge base article to forward your MyBCIT email to your primary email. And then you only have to check one email inbox, and you're not going to miss any important communications from BCIT. Getting software prepared. You have access to Office 365. full-time students have access to Adobe Creative Cloud and a free subscription, they don't happen automatically. You have to do things to sign up for them and make sure that they are ready to go for day one. So I think I've got some links in the coming articles that tell you how to do that, but just be aware that you don't have OneDrive and you don't have Word, Office, all of those tools unless you sign up for it and validate your student email. So Office 365, there's a link. 90% of the problems are due to students not seeing the email that Microsoft sends to their mybcit.ca account to validate their student status. They haven't forwarded their email. They're not checking their email at mybcit.ca. That is 90% of the problems of people getting access to Office 365. So there's a reason that I put that forward your email slide first before Office 365, because that's a natural flow of how you can fix that problem. Just be aware that if you don't have Office 365 or you're having problems getting it, Mike said I should check my MyBCIT email for a validation email, and then you'll be off to the races. Adobe Creative Cloud is very much the same thing. You have licensing for it, it's available to students, but you need to go through the process of signing up for it. In order to do that, you need to be able to sign in with your BCIT credentials that I talked about a few slides back. I don't think there's any part-time studies in this group, but they have access to discounted Adobe Creative Cloud, but it's not free. We tried to price it more like a textbook for a course if it was needed for that, and it would be $50 a term for the access, and that wasn't going to be a barrier to be able to take any of those courses that required Adobe Creative Cloud. One thing I should mention, that if somehow you're in a program as a part-time studies student, or you're in a program that requires you to pay a technology fee for the Adobe access, that access has to end when you stop being a student. So it's possible that you could pay for a 3-month subscription as a part-time studies student, drop the course, you will lose access to Adobe Creative Cloud because our licensing says we can only supply it to students. So it has to stop when you stop becoming a student. Hopefully that doesn't apply to any of you, but just be aware that that has happened and folks have wondered how that works. Oops. Microsoft software, there are other programs called Azure DevTools for Teaching. This is particularly relevant to students who have Macs and may want to have a Windows 10 or Windows 11 license to set up their Windows operating system. The Mac M1 chips don't boot camp well. There was a time for about 10 years where Apple made Intel-based processors, and they were very, very friendly to running Windows apps on them. Now that Apple has developed their new silicon, or their own silicon, it's very much gone the other way. It's very, very difficult to run Windows applications on a Mac. There is there is Parallels, but it's not free. I think it's about $100 or $80 to be able to have that virtualization platform. But yeah, be aware that that software is available to you while you are a student. I say this to the computing students, and it's for as long as you can keep it going. There's no license term that requires you to be a student. Everybody knows that you can really only keep a Windows box going for about 2 or 3 years before you have to rebuild it. But if you were to, let's say in May before you graduated, grab a Visio and Project and a few things from this site, you could potentially have it for 2 years after you left BCIT. So keyword, while you are a student, you have access, but you can run it for as long as you can keep it going. There's a couple links at the bottom for how to sign up for that software program and how to get the software downloaded. Something unique to BYOD programs and came to us through the pandemic is VPN. You need to access BCIT's resources when you're off network. When you're on campus with your own device, you are connected to BCIT's network. You have access to all of our license servers and all of the tools you need. You are within reach. When you're off campus, some of those applications that we supply to you still need that licensing, and you won't be able to reach that licensing unless you're connected to the VPN. So setting up the VPN is one of those very important things you'll need to do if you want to work off campus at all, which I'm suggesting that you do. And there's a number of articles here on, about the VPN, what the rules are, how you set them up, using it with some Apps Anywhere applications. So I would recommend downloading the VPN, installing it, and making sure you open Apps Anywhere and use one application that does require a license server. If you can do that, you're in good shape. Jump to the next one. Whoops. Fair warning on the VPN. When you are connected to the VPN, you are connected to BCIT's network. All of the traffic comes through BCIT's network to your device. So we're not responsible, well, you're responsible for your own device. A lot of people have file sharing applications on their devices. Those file sharing applications by themselves are not necessarily illegal, but if you are downloading movies and MP3s, that is illegal activity, and it goes through BCIT's network while you have the VPN on. You want to make sure that you disable any file sharing applications, particularly that they don't auto start on your device. And just be aware, if you are doing that type of behavior when you're on VPN, you're going to hear about it from our Student Judicial Affairs Office. This is letting you know that that's not something you want to do. So turn all that behavior off while you're at BCIT or specifically on VPN. Again there. So how do you get software at BCIT? Other than downloading Adobe and Office 365 and putting it on your own computer, we mainly use a platform called Apps Anywhere. What it does is it streams software directly to your device and the on-campus labs. It's the same mechanism for getting it to the labs and your device. And it just brings down, let's say an application is 1.2 gigs. It'll bring down that payload to run that application on your device. And it's running using your device's resources, your CPU, your RAM, your disk. It's like you have it installed locally. There are some applications that someone asks a question in the chat or the Q&A about what if I have an i3 and it's a little bit of an underpowered device, will I still be able to install and run these applications? Yes, your mileage may vary. It might be a little slow. It might not be the experience that you want. Or if you have a Mac and you don't have a Windows environment set up, as I said, the new Macs with the M1 silicone are very PC unfriendly. So you'll need to jump into something that we call Workspace. Workspace.bcit.ca is the front door to BCIT's virtual desktop environment. So if you had a Mac, you can connect to workspace.bcit.ca, launch a virtual desktop that is PC based, and use that PC to run those PC applications. It's an extra step, but it works, and it's a pretty decent solution if you have a Mac and it's not an appropriate device for the program, or you came with an underpowered device and you're going to use BCIT's virtual desktop resources instead of your local resources to run that application. Got here, next slide. Just reading this slide because I don't remember this slide. Yeah, I think I covered it a little earlier. You don't need the VPN if you're on BCIT's library or network, but if you are, some applications on Apps Anywhere do require VPN. And if you're using apps anywhere on your personal device from off campus, it's just a good rule to have VPN on, because you're going to have to fix all that software licensing. There was a lot of talk earlier in the presentation about BYOD and recommended specs for the program. Please have a look at those and make sure you do have the appropriate device for your program. Today is designed to help you and remove barriers. If you've got the wrong device for your program, you are just putting barriers in your own way. It's being a little more difficult than it needs to be. It's not necessarily impossible, but you don't want to put barriers in your own way when you're taking a challenging program that BCIT offers. So, for example, not your program, but the civil engineering program is entirely Windows-based. They run heavyweight applications like AutoCAD and SolidWorks, and they're just not appropriate for a PC or for a Mac to be in that program. It's not that you will struggle, you won't be able to complete that program if you have a Mac. And there's varying levels of that across different programs. So make sure you're bringing the appropriate device. As I mentioned just in the last slide, you do have access to a Windows-based virtual desktop that you can run your applications in, but you're using BCIT's virtual desktop resources that we're giving you, and those are about a third of what is in a fancy new Mac. So you've got a fancy new Mac, but you're remoting into BCIT's virtual environment and running at about a third the horsepower. That's just swimming with handcuffs on. So bring the device that's appropriate to your program and don't put things in your way. I talked a little bit about the M1 chip being new Apple silicone. It's not PC friendly. There's a link and an article that I dug up there that MA Chow 2 runs you through how to run Windows M1 on a Mac using Parallels. There is a cost for Parallels. BCIT doesn't have any licensing or discounts that could help you. But yeah, look at those specs and make sure you're bringing the right device. There is downtime for labs and software. This is not as relevant as it used to be years ago when we didn't have BYOD programs and you needed the labs to get access to that software. As a general rule, labs are open till 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. There is 1 or 2 late labs per building that have computers until 1 a.m., but pretty much all labs are shut down at 1 a.m. The virtual environment slows down after 1 a.m. because there's less machines available. They're doing more maintenance, but there's still some available. Saturday nights from 6 p.m. to midnight is IT's maintenance window for the whole institute. That's when we take down network switches and do power upgrades and all those things. So if you are going to plan a break for any time, it should be Saturday between 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. because there may be times during that time period that you just can't access the resources you need to do schoolwork. So plan for that. We talked about printing. That's one of the things that you will need a student card for. There's a number of printers set up all over the campus. There's some in the library. There's some in the ground floor of SE6, third floor of SE12. They're all over the place. But there's a couple good guides to setting up pay printing on a Mac, setting up pay printing on Windows. I highly advise you to do that setup before you need it, just to save yourself some stress. Some of the things that I wanted to talk about, or I talked through the computing students, Morgan touches on. Time management is very important. Prioritizing is very important. I will extend that a little bit and say, know your course standing at all times. So if you have 90% in B-Law and you have 60% in your communications course and your next assignment is coming up, you know where you stand in all those courses. And you know that you're going to have to take something away from B-Law and put a little more effort into your communications assignment. And you don't know that unless you are recording all of your assignments and grades and midterms. And so far I've got a running average of this grade in this course. So it just gives you a little bit more information to do an informed give and take on where you can steal resources from, because BCIT, the way is to give you more things to do than you have time to do them. That's part of the pressure cooker of BCIT, and learning time management that's very important. Work with your set, work across sets. I would say consider becoming a set rep. It's never too early to start building those leadership skills, and being a set rep is a very good way to do that. I'm sure our BC Student Association rep would agree. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you is try and talk to your set and reach out to your second years, people who have done the program that you are just about to start. They're your best source of advice on what's coming and what you should expect. I'll give you an example. We did this for our group in computing, and they said, if you can, take the database course in the summer. It's not hard, but it's 20 hours a week for one course. And if you can get that off your plate, you'll have a much better term 3. And so I did that, and it was a piece of cake. But 20 hours a week is significant for one course. I think Morgan touched on this about prioritization. Take your studies seriously. You're here to learn. You're here to build skills that employers will pay for. Take it seriously. Don't mess around. Commit to doing the work. It's only 2 years, and it's your foundation for the rest of your career. So take it seriously and make this time at BCIT very good. So some of those key points that I touched on: change your password on mybcit.ca immediately, if not today, or at least today. Register for those applications, Office 365 and Adobe. Learn how to print. If you're a Mac user, orient yourself with the BYOD specs. Get that environment running so it's not alien to you. A couple things that I touched on that aren't on this list is forwarding your email. Make sure you do that this week. We didn't touch on how to connect to wireless, but from the advice I've given you, you're going to go to the knowledge base and you're going to look up student wireless, how to connect, and it'll tell you a few things how to do that. You'll need your BCIT ID, which is your email address, and your password, which is a thing you're about to change. And then you can sign on to the Wi-Fi network called BCIT_secure. That's the primary email domain for, or primary Wi-Fi hotspot for BCIT. There's also something called Eduroam, and there's a knowledge base article for Eduroam. Eduroam is a global consortium of people who choose to provide and share Wi-Fi. So that's other educational institutions, that's museums, that's community centers. And if you just take the time to sign up for Eduroam, shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes. You'll find that as you travel across the country, you'll bump into free Eduroam Wi-Fi. If you're at a conference down in Harbor Center where Wi-Fi is $7 for half an hour, you'll have free Wi-Fi from SFU's Harbor Center. So I can't stress that enough, signing up for Eduroam, because that'll help you in your 2 years while you're here. That's pretty much it, what I have to talk to you about. If you have any questions, I'm not monitoring what's in chat or what has come our way, but if we do have some questions, that we'll try and answer them and get them back to the group in an FAQ. But yeah, I guess my best advice, if you have a question, is double check that you're doing it right before asking for help. Most of the documentation should be very good, so make sure you're performing the steps correctly. And if you still need help, you can contact the IT Services Service Desk. There's a number of ways to get a hold of us: email, chat, phone, walk up to the counter. Ideally, you can help yourself with the knowledge-based article because the first couple weeks that lineup can get pretty long at IT Services. So that's why I'm trying to stress your ability to self-help using the knowledge base and solve your own problems and share those solutions with your classmates, so that that lineup doesn't stay crazy at the service desk. Okay, back to you, Lester. Thank you.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. I think everybody also had a good sense of like things to set up this week. I think we have some, I don't know if anybody has questions about their own device and if they were able to access it. I think this is a good time to have everyone, set up your, oh, sorry, Phil, yes.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, the slides from today, I think you're posting those, or are they already posted?
They're not yet posted, Phil. I am actually planning to, well, the recording will be basically on the slides as well. So we could probably upload it this week. And then the slides, I'll be sending all of the people who registered and attended the session to have the slides specifically forwarded to them on their email.
And when will that happen?
Most likely by the end of the week.
Can it be sooner? Because there's all these links in the files that are probably critical for them to get started, right?
Oh, sure. And then maybe tomorrow. I'll probably send it by tomorrow for everybody to have access to and work on the devices and stuff this week.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And I just want to encourage all the students, as soon as you get that information, please jump on it and get ready. Next week is going to come quickly. And once you're into your courses, you're going to find the days are going to go really quickly. So you don't want to be messing around with this stuff. Get that all sorted this week.
So
thank you very much.
There is a question here, Anonymous, just to clarify, a Mac would be harder to work with, but overall for a program like HR, it would be possible to continue using it with some additional work?
Probably. I don't know what the tools are in the HR program. Oh, Morgan wants to say. Here we go.
I don't want to say. Sorry, I was just indicating that it was being answered live. You should definitely take this one, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, there was some question earlier. Someone said they were considering or had just bought an i3. So an i5 is the minimum recommended spec, just because it has a little more horsepower to run the applications that most of the School of Business programs need, right? So if you'll with a Mac, and depends on if you're comfortable setting up parallels. If you're comfortable setting up parallels and doing that sort of IT techie work, you'll be fine with a Mac. You'll have to go through one additional step to run some of the Windows-based programs to submit your work. So you're always going to have to be doing that extra hop to go into the Apps Anywhere virtual desktop to run the Windows-based programs. The Office for Mac and Office for PC are just a little different, but different enough that it's going to drive your instructors crazy. So they'll want the PC version. So you've got a computer that you can't use all the time. You're always hopping to one other computer to do that work. It'll work, but it's going to frustrate you. It's going to be an extra step that you don't need.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Anyone have any other questions? If not, feel free to leave the meeting or leave the webinar. There's one question from Shayla Potts. Is there a sign-up form for any additional information needed for a dental or medical plan? It's probably from the essay. I think for this one, it probably would be easier to contact Josh, just because he is the essay coordinator and student association rep for School of Business. That would be the best way to answer that one. I could send his contact information over to you. Another anonymous attendee. Will we need to install Windows 11 or Windows 10, or is it Windows 10 better for the software? Mike?
Either one works, doesn't matter.
That's straightforward. That's great. And then which is better for a business management student, i3 or i5 window?
i5 is always better. i3 is getting quite dated. It's not a terribly powerful machine. Your machine's just going to struggle to do a little bit more of the work with the applications. Yeah, i5 is better.
All right.
That answer to that question for health and dental, I answered it, but then it went away. So it's probably in the answered questions. There's a link on the Student Association's website for that. So
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
super.
All right. I
Like,
think
there's another question about should I uninstall Windows S mode?
I don't think you need to, but probably not. You'll probably be fine. That question from Jana,
Anna.
it's a big ask to ask a student to replace a device. I think the important thing is just to let you know that you'll be putting additional work in your way if you continue to use the Mac. It's not that it's got the power to do what it wants. Let me preface this with the Mac users. I would say if a Mac user is comfortable to buy Parallels and use Azure DevTools to get their Windows 10 or 11 license and set that up. So if you can set up your own Windows environment, you'll be fine in the School of Business programs using a Mac. But using a Mac natively will put barriers in your way. So if you're going to emulate your Windows environment and run Windows that way on your device, you'll be fine. If you're not comfortable doing that, or you don't have a friend that can help you through that, you're going to have some hurdles in your way using a Mac in the School of Business programs, or the 4 that aren't broadcast and digital arts. That's as plain as I can explain it. Is if you're comfortable setting up the virtual environment, you will 95% be fine.
I'd like to comment because I've done both. So I'm a Mac user as well as a PC user. I've been a PC user my entire career. Got onto a Mac about 8 or 9 years ago. I installed Parallels so I could run Windows and Microsoft Office applications, and I just found it really clunky. It's slow. The keyboard shortcuts don't match on the Mac. Switching between environments is kind of nice. You know, you can still do your email and whatnot on the Mac, but then you're flipping over to Windows, which is still running, right? You can do it live. But it's slow, you know, and not very responsive. That machine I had to give up a year ago. We bought a new Mac with an M1, and then I discovered quickly that you can't. I was going to actually install Windows in boot camp, so I could just run Windows, so it would be faster. And then of course you can't do that with an M1 chip. So my only option was Parallels. So I gave up on that. I didn't want to go down the Parallels route anymore, and I just went out and spent $500 on a PC. So if you've got the budget, my recommendation is go buy a PC, you know, for your business operations management students. If you're in Bitman, you need a PC. The Mac won't get you through. There's one course you cannot do with a Mac. Okay, so I hope that helps. I'm just trying to be straight to the point.
Nope, honesty works. Yeah. And that goes the same for a student that would bring an underpowered device like a Microsoft Surface or an older i3 to the program. You're going to find that you're constantly going into the BCIT virtual desktop to increase the resources. And yes, it's possible, but every time you do anything, you're going to have to do that. So if you were running a race and you were guaranteed to be 10% slower than everybody else, just by the tools you were using, that's going to be tough when that race is 2 years long. So it's possible. It's not recommended. Bring a device that's appropriate for the program that you're taking, and you're setting yourself up for success. I understand that if someone got a new MacBook Pro for graduation, that's the device to bring into BCIT, very likely. But it's our job to tell you that you're going to have some challenges. It's going to cost you some cycles to be able to use that.
Another thing to consider too, if you're running parallels in Windows that way, it's another 2 points of failure, right? So, and that's what I found. If you didn't keep the parallels upgraded, then you run into problems as well. You know, and of course they charge for the upgrades, right? That's another 50 or 100 bucks a year.
Yeah.
So that's what I faced when I made the decision to buy a PC is, okay, I could go spend over a couple of years at least 200 bucks on parallels. Well, I may as well go spend 500 on a PC and be done with it. Then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. There's a question in chat about Surface devices. There's a distinction between laptops with a fully integrated keyboard and a Chromebook, an iPad, a Microsoft Surface. Those types of devices are what we call consumption devices. You're just intended to grab and digest information from them, not create anything on them. They're not well suited, those consumption devices. You want something, if I were taking a program at BCIT, I would want at least a 15-inch, 14.5, 15-inch screen, a fully integrated keyboard, an i5, pretty much what the BYOD specs say you should have. You're not going to be able to get through this program on a phone.
Or an iPad.
And I know the Surfaces have gotten significantly better than the, I had a Surface Pro 2, and it was, I don't know, maybe had a 10-inch screen, but it was a nice little device if you wanted the internet in your pocket. But I'd have hated to go to school on it.
There's another Surface question in there, Mike.
What am I missing here?
It's from Ricardo.
Yeah.
Oh. Let me have a look at that.
Say, do you think Surface Laptop Go-To for Business is good for the program?
I'm just having a look at it here.
Oh, okay.
Tech specs.
Well, Mike's doing that. We've actually had a few students in the past try and do the program on like a tablet device, so an iPad or a Surface, of course, or a other type of tablet device, and that won't work. You really can't do it. You really need a proper machine. So please don't go there.
I would say the Surface Go-To is underpowered for what you're going to want to do in this program. I would not recommend bringing that device to this program.
So Ricardo's looking for a specific PC recommendation, and I don't have one. That's why we created the BYOD spec, is so that you could take that spec and go to Best Buy or Costco or wherever you shop and find a PC that has those minimum specs. So I don't have a model unless, Mike, you do.
No, follow the specs, get as much as you can. The best computer is one that you can afford and is good enough to get you through the full 2-year program. If you can afford better and you'll be using that computer beyond when you leave BCIT, that works too. But I'm very aware that money is tight and the students don't have a lot of money. I'm very aware of that. So do the best you can following those specs is what I could say. Yeah, the i5 is better for, you know, i3, i5, i7. The better processor you can get, the better. But I would say minimum i5. I wouldn't. You're going to be a little bit slow if you bring an i3 to this program. There's something in chat here for a student card. Is it worth getting a card? Yes, you won't be able to print without the card. Some, at least in the computing programs, when you get to second year, all of the second year option labs are swipe access. So only the second year students can get in them, and you'll need your card for that. But you'll need it for printing. So probably within 2 weeks, you'll need to get your ID card.
All right, I think everything. Oh, there we go. We have one more question. I think this is just a comment. I think we're almost at the end of our session. If you have any questions, you could reach out to us. I'll send the slides earlier this week for everyone to have a reference of what we've talked today, and you could have access to all the links that we were providing on the presentation. But thanks, Mike. Thanks, Phil, Morgan, and Robin for giving your time with our students. Oh, there's a question about parking. Parking is paid daily. I read someone asked as well.
Yeah, I put something in. Oh, there we go. Hang on. I'm gonna. So I just Googled BCIT student parking, and there's a great link there that I answered it and put it in the answered questions. So there's all kinds of info there.
Okay. Right, I think we can. I think we're almost at the end of our session, and I think I want to say thank you for attending this session as well for all the students. Welcome to BCIT, and we wish you all the best for the upcoming term. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Phil, Morgan, and Robin for your time spending with our students. And if you have any questions, please feel to reach out to us, and we could we'll see you either this week or next week.
Thank you, Lester.
All good. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.